We will now be taking a look at company bike leasing models. We want to find out what the success factors behind company bike schemes in Germany, Belgium, Finland, and beyond look like, and how we can actually repeat those success stories. I will, however, finish now and not say anything more, but hand over to Elena Leidler-Zettelmeyer, Head of Strategic Alliance at Zukunft Fahrrad, and I welcome her as well as her panel on stage. Please give them applause.
Okay, you can sit down according to the photos. Yes, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Full house. Very delighted about all the people attending our session on company bike leasing today. It's a super exciting topic, ever evolving. Company bike leasing has been a big success in many markets already. We'll be talking about this today with this great panel. And we want to talk especially about how we can expand the company bike leasing scheme and move into other markets. Yeah, as companies look for new ways to promote sustainability, employee well-being, more efficient transportation, bike leasing has emerged as a key solution in several European markets. Growth rates over the last 10 years have been very impressive. We just published a new study on this yesterday together with Deloitte. And this scheme has become a very, very important driver for the entire industry in the markets where it's already successful. But what are the factors behind the success of company bike schemes in markets like Germany, Belgium, or Finland? And how can we replicate this success in other countries across Europe? These are the questions that we will be talking about today, and who will be talking about it? This great panel of experts representing key actors and key players from the mobility and the bike leasing sectors. And we will discuss what it takes to scale across new markets. Welcome this wonderful panel. I will introduce the panelists to you. First, we have from Germany, Enno Quast, welcome. He is manager at Deloitte, a global consulting leader, currently advising several players in the industry and issuer of the study on the development of the company bike leasing market. Welcome, thank you for joining today. Secondly, we have Anja Steinkönig, also from Germany, welcome. She is Group CMO of the Bike Leasing Serving Group, which entails the bike leasing service as a leading provider in the bike leasing sector in Germany, and market leader in Austria, and the digital multi-benefit platform Probonio and the bike resale company Bike to Future. Welcome, Anja. Third, we have from Finland, Mikko Ampuja, founder and CEO of Vapaus, also a company bike leasing provider founded in 2018, active on the Finnish and the Swedish market, and is looking to enter into other markets. Then we have on the far end two people from Belgium. First, we have Eva Guldentops, CEO of Cyclis Bike Lease, the first to start bike leasing in Belgium in 2014 and now Belgian market leader and part of the Jobrad group. Cyclis Bike Lease is also active on the Dutch market, so we have a very wide variety of expertise here on several markets. And last but not least, Herman van Beveren from Decathlon. Decathlon, I'm sure I don't have to explain it to you, one of the world's largest sporting goods retailers and ever expanding their bicycle and cycling equipment product range and retail partner of bike leasing providers. And Herman is also a board member of Cycling Industries Europe, so he knows a lot about European policies and politics as well. Let's start right in. Yeah, company bike leasing has been around for about 10, 12 years in different markets. And let's start with having a look at the journey of the success and the development of company bike leasing in Europe. So over the last decades, we have witnessed tremendous growth, very successful scheme. And yeah, let's have a look at the markets: Austria, Belgium, Finland, Germany, Netherlands, Sweden. What exactly has made these markets so successful? So I will start with the first question to the company bike leasing providers. Maybe we'll start with Eva. So what do you consider the key developments in company bike leasing over the last 10 years? What are the success factors that have driven the market in Belgium, for example?
Um, I think the key driver in Belgium is without a doubt our fiscal regime. So our government really supports sustainable commute by allowing gross salary conversion, where it's for the employee a reduction of about 40% that they save on by doing company bike leasing via their gross salary. Also, very important is the mileage allowance that we get as an employee. So per kilometer that you drive to work with your bike, cycle to work, of course, you get also an allowance. And this is really key. I guess in Germany and the Netherlands, this is not a fact, and it's a big driver in Belgium.
How big is this allowance? What I mean, for the people who don't know what
It's 36 cents per kilometer. Yes.
Okay. Mikko, how about you? What about the Finnish market?
Yeah, I would say that there was like three major factors, but which made it a success. Firstly, there was sort of like bottled up demand for like quality solutions for getting, for example, e-bikes. You know, a lot of the trends of sustainability, well-being, all played a key role that people felt that actually taking up e-bikes would be a great thing. Then the same as in Belgium, definitely the Finnish tax incentives were like a fantastic thing. They were good enough and they were simple enough to understand that it was actually possible for us to then make the third major factor that made it a success, which was like providing an easy to understand and easy to communicate product around the tax incentive. And on the third part, there was a lot of like key players in the market, like Vapaus being one of them. But then in the end, was also collaboration with the customers, collaboration with the different bike shops that made it a real success. And especially during the first year, we did a lot of PR. We made it really visible in the market. We made sure that everyone in Finland knew about the opportunity to get a bike as a benefit. And I think that was like the three big things that made it a success.
Anja, how about the German market? What's the success story of the big German company bike leasing market?
I think there are several pillars in Germany
Is
that
that on?
drove
Oh.
the success. First of all, I think the wish for sustainability, right? I mean, there was a real move when everybody was facing climate change, and that's why what drove cycling also as an alternative in moving forward, like urban transportation and cycling and so on. But also to COVID, when there was like everyone was isolated, everybody wanted to move, right? So a really huge growth we could see when people wanted to go out and cycle there. And then also in the last 10 years, for sure, there was a huge development in digital products as well. So, I mean, we saw with like the complete supply chain offering by digital services and a complete automated process that it was more easy to access for employers, employees, but also for retailers, right? So next to this also in Germany, in I think 2012, there was the first taxation change made by the fiscal government, right? So that it was more easyable to access for employees. And so in total, it was a huge success story in Germany as well. Yeah.
Thank you. I do have a quick question for Mikko because I was. You said one thing that I have a question about. So you said you did a lot of PR right in the beginning, and you made sure that everybody knew about it. where did you get this budget from? Did you have an investor like right from the start who?
There was no budget for that. No, I actually have a background as being a consultant and a researcher, and for me it was always like a natural thing that when we figure out something super interesting, I had like zero threshold of contacting reporters that, hey, we have this fantastic thing.
Okay.
Do you want to know about it? And there was a lot of like really well-known Finnish brands that also like took up the bike benefit in the beginning. So that created this sort of like interesting phenomena that it was really easy to talk about. Like everyone knows about the opportunity to get a car from the company car. Suddenly it became opportunity for people to get bikes as well. And it was new, it was interesting, and it was very in line with everything that was happening in the world with sustainability, well-being, all that. So it became like a really interesting story, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, very interesting. You were at the right place at the right time. Let's move on to Decathlon and Deloitte. You have a little bit more of a, let's say, of a bird's eye view on the developments of the bicycle and bike leasing market. You're looking at like different European countries. You have a more international perspective. Herman, so from your perspective in Decathlon, what role does company bike leasing play for Decathlon in terms of sales and new customers? What has changed over the last years? How easy has it been to like integrate the company bike leasing processes into the retail service?
First of all, I would like to say that we see a very big difference in price of a bought bike and a leased bike. So people who go for a lease bike through company leasing, the bike is more or less 30–40% more expensive. So for the industry, this is something very good. Regarding the integration in the company, let's say it's quite complicated because actually in Decathlon on the international level, it's not integrated yet in the model, but locally in the countries where leasing is operating well, because the legislation is adapted to that, such as Belgium and Germany, there the integration is locally done. And this is working. Yes.
So in terms of like sales, can you elaborate a little bit more, like how much has this made an impact on, like, let's say the revenue or the number of bikes?
We know that today the growth on e-bikes is quite complicated, and everyone knows this. And thanks to bike leasing, this is the part that creates the growth today. In Germany, in Belgium, it's there that it's growing. So we are very happy that this legislation exists in those countries. And I would like to add to this that it's very important to have this legislation also in the other European countries, because in our opinion, mobility should be a fundamental right for everyone. And the salary spread from some countries in Europe goes from 600 euros per month to 3,000 euros per month, depends where you're living. And leasing can have a huge impact if you have access to mobility or not. So we need to work for that together.
That's true, that's true. We're also working on this with the Zukunft Fahrrad. So anyway, it's been like a good decade of company bike leasing, and we've mostly seen companies come, and we've seen very few companies go, because it's been such a successful market so far. But even looking at the players that are on the market right now in Germany or elsewhere abroad in other European countries, from a consultant's point of view, what would you say, what makes a company bike leasing provider successful, or even more successful or less successful? What do you think are like the key factors?
I think we have just heard a couple of trends which play together in the last couple of years. And we definitely see differences when working together with different players in the industry on how they execute on those trends and how they use it as a tailwind, basically. And I would probably boil it down to three things which are critical to be successful in the market. One very important aspect is ecosystem setup. Yeah, you need very reliant partners along the entire ecosystem, of which we all know how complex it is in bike leasing with all the different players being involved. I think that's very crucial to get this right. Second point would be processes, as lean as possible, as fast as possible, and nowadays, obviously, also as digital as possible. I think that's also a differentiator of getting it right or not getting it right. And then the third pillar would be sales, to get the sales right. In the more mature markets, I feel like it was, first of all, about getting the big corporates on board. And especially now in Germany, we are shifting more towards capturing the SME segment, so small and mid-sized companies. And I think their sales excellence is the key to onboard them efficiently and profitable.
Yes, Mikko.
Yeah, can I just comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned that haven't seen too many companies go, but I don't think it's like obvious for everyone how competitive the market was in the beginning. Like just in Finland, during the first 3 months when the market opened, I counted 25 different companies in the market, and that's when I stopped counting. There were still companies entering the market, but you need to hit like a specific scale with this sort of bike leasing business to actually make it a success. So that means that usually in a market there's probably 3 to 5 players which hit the sort of scale that is still sustainable to continue. But it was fiercely competitive in the beginning.
So how many players are left on the Finnish market now? Or significant players?
I would say like 5 which are like more or less significant, and then a few ones which I don't know what's going to happen to them, honestly.
And I think Eva also wanted to add something.
Yeah, I think the crucial key takeaway for other European countries who want to embed company bike leasing into their economy is to don't forget the ecosystem, right? You have the leasing companies, which we represent here today, but the service, the maintenance, the repair, it's the local dealers and local Decathlon shops, for example. They do the work, they service your fleet, they make cyclists happy, and they make sure that they are safe on the roads. So it's very important to have a good understanding with them, to communicate with them, to understand what their pains are. I think there are a lot of stakeholders in this market which are sometimes forgotten. But apart from manufacturers, dealers, the B2B companies, which needs to be convinced to put their employees on a bike, and the bikers themselves, it's very important to take into account all these stakeholders, and that makes many companies trying to do bike leasing, but in the end, the big ones are the ones who are successful in reaching the sustainability goals together. And this goes beyond zero carbon transition. This is also about the people and the local economy. And I think this is very important. In Belgium, for example, we did some research into 2024. 40% of the bike retailers' revenue comes from company bike leasing. So in the beginning, when our CEO, Joep, and the co-founders entered the market, they couldn't believe that this could be something good for their business. Today, they are partly open, and they also grown because of company bike leasing. So I think it's very important that we never forget that there are many stakeholders.
Yeah, it's very important point. So we've talked a little bit that we need like a healthy ecosystem, that we have to look at the different players, that we need good fiscal regulation, we need politics behind us. Let's look a little bit at the current situation. And I would like to speak about policy and market risks, and as well as business strategy. So Mikko, I read on your website that the Finnish government is already planning to remove the tax exemption for company bikes, starting in the beginning of 2026. why do you think there's already a backlash in like promoting sustainable mobility? Like it has just started, it is successful. Why the backlash now already?
Yeah, I can talk about the Finnish situation. One of the key things was, first of all, that it was a lot more successful than they originally anticipated. Sounds funny, but they were actually budgeting for approximately 15,000 bikes. And in the end, at the moment, we are at 115,000 bikes. So all their calculations were completely off.
Okay.
Then I think us as an industry, there was already Will from Prompton talking about like how we need to talk with politicians, like in the previous panel, and I fully agree. And we should have done like a better job with that, especially in Finland, because we really spoke a lot about the tremendous success. You know, we get a lot of people on bikes. There's the health benefits. There's the environmental benefits. But I think we made a bit of a mistake with not understanding that from a government's point of view, this is sort of an investment. There's always a cost involved as well. So the current government is really looking at only at the cost, which is basically the tax revenue that is now missed because of this tax exemption. So we should have made like a better sort of investment case out of it. That, okay, you are investing this much, but this is actually what you're getting out of it. And, you know, as an industry, we can't be naive about the fact that there are costs also included in this sort of tax incentives. So that's what we need to do better. We need to understand that there are costs, but then with those costs, you're actually getting something out of it. And, well, we're trying to turn their heads, like in Finland, but let's see how it goes.
Good luck. I hope you will succeed. What about in Belgium? Is there any risk at the horizon regarding changes in the regulatory framework? I know that the mobility budget has been a success story in Belgium. Is that a great addition to company bike leasing schemes, or is it also a bit of a threat?
Yeah, currently the government is looking into this, so we will know in a few months what they will change. For now, the information that we get is that they won't do much drastic things, like there is no mentioning that they would skip the kilometer allowance, which is very important driver for people to commute to work. They are looking into maybe broaden the mobility budget. Today it exists, and it also is possible that you can pay part of your mortgage with it. This comes from Corona times, of course, because we had to work from home. But we are also in the lobby in Belgium to make the government aware that if you, of course, broaden the mobility budget for a larger group of people, that it's really not a mobility thing. It's too soon to say, but for now, the feedback is positive, and it's not very likely that they will skip the incentives for employees.
That's good news. And in Germany, so we've seen in the new Deloitte story that the growth of company bike leasing has slowed down for the first time. What about regulatory risks, or what do you think needs to be done in Germany to especially secure the company bike leasing model?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we came to a tableau, right? Especially as you said, it's for the first time, but still, I mean, business is pretty high, right? I mean, what we want to achieve, that we have a long-term perspective. So there's a clear strategy, so that we not have that we have a countrywide, German-wide regulation, right? For really long term, and not that it's like right now the case that it's like on the federalism opportunity only based till 2030. So there's kind of insecurity at the moment, how the business will move on, what kind of like problems might come up, especially in a, let's say, political situation as we are at the right now. So it seems like there's not the focus for the moment with the parties that are moving ahead at the moment to focus on that. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. Herman, we've talked a lot about policy and influencing policymakers. And as a Decathlon is a successful Europe-wide player that probably has a little bit of lobbying weight as well, and that has benefited greatly from company bike leasing. What do you suggest? You're also like very active at CIE, Cycling Industries Europe, the European lobbying organization. What do you think, what steps should business but also policymakers make to A, secure the existing markets and also to replicate the success? Like what do we need to do, or do you have any advice also for other people lobbying in other markets? What do they need to do to convince policymakers to support company bike leasing?
So first of all, I would like to say that on the European level, we are working with CIE, and a lot of industry players are member of CIE. We are trying to influence the European legislation, and we hope that we can bring it into a directive, which means that then it will be mandatory for the member states to impact this in their local country. But I think it's also very important that locally in countries, through the associations and through your own companies, you do the work locally, because the legislation is always a local story. In a big part, we see this in Germany, we see this in Finland, we see this in Belgium as well. It's a local story. And today we are very lucky because we have some very good examples that work and that have proved that they work. So they can be used to inspire other European countries to apply a comparable scheme so that their citizens, they can also have bike leasing and bikes available at a reasonable price with a monthly payment through salary conversion.
So one of the documents that has been used also for lobbying, I know on the German level, but also on the European level, has been the company bike leasing study from Deloitte. You can see it's very impressive. It's convincing. You can see it's creating value. It's creating revenue, jobs, etc., etc. Just the sheer number of employers using company bike leasing schemes. I think in Germany it's about 250,000 employers who are offering company bike leasing now, are very convincing numbers for policymakers as well. What do you think? Do you think we also need a similar study for the European market? In what kind of role could Deloitte play in this? And yeah, looking at all the minor or major risks in the other markets, what's your overall opinion on this as from a consultant's point of view?
Yeah, you just mentioned our recently launched study from yesterday, and as you said, we see that we kind of reached a plateau this year, but still I think the messages are very positive. It is one of the key pillars of the entire industry, one of the key drivers. And there is still high volume of demand, right? And I think this is a positive message. And if we have similar messages across Europe, I think that's definitely beneficial. So I think it would definitely make sense to have similar studies, not just in Germany, but also in other European countries. In terms of how to realize it, I think discussions are going on. It's definitely very important to have the relevant players on board and also have the relevant associations, the local associations on board to provide the data, to then make sense of it and then to use it for policy making.
Yeah, data collection, definitely very, very important topic in several areas of the cycling industry, not only in the company bike leasing sector. Yeah, so we've been looking at the last 10 years, we've been looking at the present. Let's look at the next 10 years, at the future, what to do now. So we know what's the most important factors are fiscal framework, good tax exemptions and incentives. We know that the business have to be digital, lean, very flexible, etc. These are all very important key factors to make it. So yeah, as we look ahead to the next decade, what do you think, what needs to happen? What are the most important actions that companies, that policymakers, service providers should take to drive the growth of company bike leasing across Europe? What are the next steps? What are the countries that you are looking at maybe to like move into? Tell us a little bit about that. Anja, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. Many questions, many opportunities to answer, to be honest, right? So what we also saw in latest other studies, not from Deloitte, but maybe from Roland Berger, right? That company bike or company bike leasing is still most of the wanted and most of the most growing benefit that is there. But in general, for sure, the, let's say, tendency and trend goes into a more broader benefit area. So
Yeah.
this is what we are seeing, right? So that bike leasing is a really implement a really big pillar within a broader multi-benefit strategy, which is also kind of other mobility opportunities, for example, right? But for bike leasing, especially to move forward, it is necessary to have the best product. I think that the players who have the best product, you name it, will win, right? And for Europe, I think as a wholesome strategy for all, let's say, countries. I mean, you mentioned locally is definitely important, but for example, if it comes to taxation, scaling would be way more efficient and way more easily if the European, different countries would align on, for example, a single taxation or a single process that could be internationalization way more easily for the individual players.
Very interesting. Mikko, what markets are you looking at? What are the next steps? What needs to happen? What are you going to do in the next 10 years?
I'm not gonna tell you all the secrets. Come on. But maybe just like starting from the policymakers is that well, I think the key requirement is that there's going to be predictability and long-term thinking. I was really happy to hear that in Belgium you're actually having discussions around this topic and you're hearing from the government. Like the thing what happened in Finland was really completely out of the blue, not discussing with anyone. So that's not the healthy way to change the policies in the market. You need to have an understanding what's going to happen next year, what's going to happen in the next couple of years, so companies can make investments, customers can make decisions. Because in the end, it's going to be usually bike leasing is like a 3-year contract. So I think it's also fair for the users, for the customers, that they know what's going to happen during the next 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and so transparency, predictability, and long-term thinking is like from the policymakers. Then, I agree with you. We as market players, we just need to make products that actually our customers love. Because if I look beyond 5-10 years, I'm not sure if we'll still have these sort of like financial subsidies in the market. We need to create something that will work with or without the subsidies. The product and the service has to be amazing. It has to be something that our customers love, and it has to be something that solves their pain points in their daily mobility. So I think that's where we're going to go.
Yeah, Eva.
Maybe looking into the future, I think what the other colleagues said, but also infrastructure is so important. I talked already to people from Spain and Portugal, and they laughed at me with the idea to introduce it into their country because there are no cycle paths that you can ride safely. So why the hell would I put my kids on a long tail if I won't arrive at the school safe? This is a very good point.
Yeah.
We don't realize it. And I think our own government has really, really made a success out of it, and really, 300 million this year. And they really work on this. It's very, very important. For us, we are looking into the Netherlands. So this is not going already like through the roof. We are entering the market. They have really a cycling culture. They have safe roads. But for example, there you can't combine the kilometer allowance if you have a company bike leasing, which is crazy. So if you do this, then they take away your kilometer allowance. So also there we try to lobby and to see if the government can also make it better for the employees in that country. And maybe last but not least, I think Herman also pointed it out. bicycles are quite expensive, and there are a lot of people who don't have work because they can't get to work. If we are looking into bikes who are more accessible to more people, this helps a lot. So in Belgium, we started circular bike leasing, where at the end of the cycle or early terminated contracts, they come back, we refurbish them, and we put them again into the market. So also people with not big budgets could maybe have a Stromer also and cycle to work. Because of company bike leasing, they don't have to finance it in at once because they don't have the money, and still they have a qualitative bike. So let's see where that takes us. And yeah, I think this is also a good story for sustainability as a whole.
Yes, absolutely.
But challenging with the local dealers, of course. So it's something that we are exploring and looking into as well. But I think this is also the future that we look further.
Yes. Yeah, this is already the present in Germany. Do you want to just add a little bit about?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we are doing for the moment, for sure, with our brand Bike to Future, where we're getting the leasing but bikes back, and then we refurbish them, and then we resell them actually through B2B channels with a B2B shop in 8 European countries, which works pretty well, and quite new also with a retail store here close to Frankfurt. Come by, step by, have a look, and a B2C online store as well. Yeah, so I mean, it's sustainable business. It's great to have this opportunity.
Thank you. Herman, what is your advice, your predictions, your next steps for the next 10 years?
So first of all, I agree with you that the cycle infrastructure is a main topic. Out of the countries at this table, cycle infrastructure is below the level cyclists expect. And we are very convinced that it really is possible to make change very fast. If we are looking into Paris, for example, 10 years ago, no one was cycling there. Today, there's more cyclists than cars. So it's possible in quite a short time frame. So we are advocating in different countries for better cycle infrastructure, and this is the first point. And then for us, Decathlon, yeah, we have a big activity in Spain, Italy, Poland, the big countries. So of course, for us, these are priority countries also for tax schemes allowing leasing. But first, we need the bike lanes.
Yeah. So more lobbying to do on all the local and national levels. Lobbying. It comes back to lobbying. Everybody, please support your local and national lobbying organizations. It's the most important player in this whole endeavor. Last question goes to Enno, and we do have maybe 1 minute to spare. And I'm going to ask you if you have any questions. So I'm going to ask the last question to Enno, and then I'm going to ask the audience, so you can think of a question now. Enno. Let's say I want to start a business in company bike leasing, or I already have a company bike leasing business and I want to expand to a new market. What is your advice as a consultant? What would you tell me?
Yeah, I think we have heard the word favorable policy a lot in this panel. So I think that is the basis for everything. So if I would start within a certain country, or would like to expand in another country, that's, I think, definitely the point to check first. How is the policy environment going on in this country? After that, it's definitely worth looking into the market characteristics. And here I not just mean pure market size, but also aspects like average bike price, super relevant for leasing, as we have heard. E-bike penetration, also a driver for corporate bike leasing, and topics like infrastructure, etc., which we have just heard. I think that's key to understand the market, to understand where you actually enter or where you build your business on. As a next step, definitely checking how mature the market is and how many competitors are already around. We just heard the number from Finland. I think in Germany it's the same. So definitely a point to look into, how much competition is there. And then coming back to the points which I mentioned in the beginning, ecosystem setup, processes and sales. Those are, I think, the 3 points which you need to get right, and which are, again, specific for each country. You cannot just copy paste from one country to another in most of the cases, but you need to see which peculiarities are there in the specific countries to execute efficiently there.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. We've got 1 minute. Are there any questions from the audience? Anybody? Don't be shy. This is your last chance now. Ah, ja. Ach so, müssen wir.
Mikko, I have a question for you. You mentioned that there is a probability that the tax incentive situation might change substantially in your market. And I'm wondering, is there anything that you can share here in this panel already now, how you are planning to react if it does happen?
So the question was that what are we doing to prevent this? Correct? Okay.
The tax advantage is eliminated. What will your reaction then be?
Okay. Yeah. So what's going to be our reaction if it's removed? Okay. Well, since day one, we started Vapaus with the idea that we're going to be an international company. We never thought that we're going to be sticking to one country only. And there was two reasons for that. Well, several actually, but two major reasons. One was that, well, it was our ambition. We truly have global ambition, and we can't deliver the number of bikes that we want just in Finland. But the second was really that if you only work in one market with one product, you need to accept the fact that there's going to be this sort of risk. And the best way to actually counter it is like operating in multiple markets or with several products. So as mentioned already, by the end of this year, we're going to have 3 or 4 markets. So that's going to be our number one reaction to the possible change.
Thank you. Thank you to my lovely panel. It's been an absolute pleasure. Very interesting talk. If you're interested in more company bike leasing and retail topics, just stay seated because there's the next group ready to discuss more company bike leasing on this stage. We've been talking about the healthy ecosystem and the different players that have to cooperatively work together, and exactly that will be the topic of the next panel. Thank you.